Okay, welcome everyone to this meeting of the Rotary Club of Leicester. It's the 17th of May and I'm the President, Parmdeep Vadesha. Welcome Muriel as our guest, and I also see Pam Spokes as well. Great to have you with us as always.
Thank you.
Yep, okay, great. And do we have any greetings from other clubs?
Greetings from the Rotary Club of Leicester Novus, and also if I can just say I've literally just come in from the first volunteer shift at the cathedral for Gaia, the Earth exhibition. So we had 50 visitors this morning, but hopefully that will build up as the 3 weeks go on.
Excellent, great effort.
I hope they've all gone to the new cafe number 7 for coffee and tea. Then Pam is what I would say.
I'm sure they have, Paul.
That's the right answer. Thank you very much indeed. I bring you greetings from the Rotary, from President Brian and the Rotary Club of Crosby on Merseyside.
Wonderful, thank you, Paul. Okay, just going to quickly share a diagram which many of you will have seen before, just to give you a quick update on our various activities as a club. Okay, just give me a thumbs up if that's visible. Excellent. Okay, so you may recall at the beginning of my presidency last year, we decided to support Rotary for Food Bank's appeal, and that's gone very well. We've raised over £13,000 now, with more to come from various fundraisings that are still continuing, including the Amam tournament that Simon's running, the golf tournament. So that's gone very well, and we have now we've made 2 donations of £550 per food bank to 5 food banks. And I calculate we've got roughly another 3 more to go. So the food banks are very happy, and as you can see them all listed there: Midlands, Lunga Seva, Age UK, Open Hands, Help the Homeless, and Zinthia Trust. So just wanted to acknowledge a great effort there from all the members of the club for all the good works we've been able to do. Obviously, it was a very tough year here in Leicester, given the lockdown restrictions and everything, but we've managed to make a great effort there. We've got other projects coming up. So Netherhall School, which we're working on building a sensory garden for the children there. That's continuing. Also a project at the Evington Youth Club to help redecorate and improve the facilities there. Our appeal for volunteers has also gone well. We've managed to build a Rotaract club, which now has 22 members. It's called the Universities of Leicester Rotaract Club, and primarily at the moment it consists of students from De Montfort University. So at the moment, many of them are finishing up their finals, and because a lot of them are international students, they'll be going back early June. So the projects that they'll be involved in will now most probably occur from September. So we're just working towards the projects that we can have lined up for them once they're back. But they're very enthusiastic and very keen to be involved in projects in the local community. So that's really the kind of positive feedback loop I was trying to create, in terms of one thing building on another, and that seems to be working well. And I just wanted to thank all the Rotarians involved in helping that work. Just a couple of pictures, perhaps actually I'll show them a bit later on, just showing the food deliveries as they come in. Okay, and right, okay, and do we have any notices from Secretary Barry? No, nothing. Okay, and anything else from other committee chairmen or women? Nothing to share? Okay, right. Well, we're going to have plenty of more time for our speaker then, which is great. And I'm very pleased to say that we have our Mayor of Leicester, Sir Peter Soulsby, who will be sharing a message from the Mayor's office. So I'll just make sure you're unmuted. So Peter, okay, and do you want me to enable your slide share as well?
If you would, yes, please, Parmdeep. I'll sort of run it from here if I can share the screen.
I'll just do that now. Okay, that's done.
Right,
Good luck.
let me
Thank
see
you.
if I can get the right one. Screen 2. I hope that is going to work. Share and then make that a display. Right, are you now seeing my title page?
Yes, that's working.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Well, it's now almost 10 years to the day since I took up the office of the first elected mayor for Leicester. It's interesting looking back on over that time, not only in the extent to which the city has changed, I believe, significantly for the better over those 10 years, but also the way in which the mayoral system of governance has been picked up by other places as well. And we now not only have Bristol and Liverpool with city mayors with the same range of responsibilities that I have, but also an increasing number of metro mayors who, particularly over the last 12 months, have been very much in the limelight as we've all been struggling to deal with the challenges presented to us by COVID. And it's interesting that the time when I was first elected, mayors were a rarity. I'm pleased to say that they're now an increasingly common way of ensuring local governance, because the one thing about having a mayor is that people know who to blame. And they certainly do quite a lot of that, but that goes with the job, and I'm delighted that it does. But when I was elected those 10 years ago, there was, I think, still a feeling in Leicester that we were a city that perhaps wasn't entirely self-confident, wasn't entirely pulling its weight. I think things have moved on a lot since then. Been a lot of changes, and I'm going to be talking about some of them today, particularly in the physical infrastructure, and particularly in the city centre, but not just that. But also, of course, we've been enormously helped by finding a pile of bones in a car park, and by winning now 2 very important football trophies. One, of course, the Premier League Championship, and the other the FA Cup this weekend, which I haven't managed, as Parmdeep has done, to get an appropriate backdrop today, but it's certainly something that has been giving the city an incredible buzz since it happened, and of course helps to add to our city's profile. And it's important for me as mayor, obviously, to take every advantage of that. Although I have to say, although it is tempting as a politician to try and take some credit for it, I think it's more down to the Thai owners and the brilliant managers that we've had, and the wonderful multinational side that they've brought together. But anyway, I'm going to be talking mostly today about, say, the physical infrastructure of the city. But of course, it has been a time over these last 10 years when there's been many social challenges in the city. And of course, particular last year, and I'll touch on it a little bit later, the challenges to us of being the city that was in continuous lockdown for the whole of the 12 months and more. I think, found ourselves being in the headlines for all the wrong reasons in the summer when they decided to extend our lockdown. But I've been looking back, and of course I can't really look back at my time as mayor without drawing attention to the number of things that I've pulled down. And at the end of that, you will hear the cheering. And I have to say, I was amongst the loudest shouting on that day, almost as loud as I was cheering on Saturday when the football team won. But it certainly has been the case that over the 10 years as mayor, I have been able to take a number of, I think, fairly bold decisions that another form of governance in the city, when I did have a number of years as the leader of the city council, I was not able to take. And certainly pulling down that 1960s office block that had been the headquarters of the city, pulling down a flyover, pulling down the old Market Hall, have all been moves that were possible because a mayor can take decisions, and as I said earlier on, can, if necessary, take the blame. I won't show that again, but I'll show what, of course, was made possible in its place. And this is one of the other themes that I really want to stress today, which is that many of the things that as mayor I've been able to achieve have been achieved because of some strong partnerships in Leicester. This one, of course, strong partnership with the private sector, partnership that created on the site of the former council buildings that wonderful space, but around it, a space that brought Mattioli Woods, very successful Leicester business, back into the city centre, brought residential back into the city centre, and a partnership with the private sector. But there have been many other partnerships as well, not least, of course, and I'm very pleased that there are those here who have been very actively engaged with the cathedral and will know all about this project, but projects with other partners, and particularly in this case with the cathedral, which transformed what was a perfectly respectable approach to the cathedral, but one that was looking very tired, into a setting that is dramatically changed and very appropriate for what is now the resting place for King Richard III, and of course featured very much when the reinterment took place those few years ago now. But as I say, partnership with the private sector, partnership with other organisations, in this case, partnership with the cathedral, have been important themes of those these last 10 years. And of course, being prepared to take on controversial issues is something that a mayor can do and a council leader cannot. And this, of course, was a car park and a bus lay-by. And it was widely predicted that were I to do away with the car park and the bus lay-by, I would hasten the demise of the city centre. Well, actually, not many people now ask for their car park back, because of course that's what we created: quality, public realm, a space that at the moment has got a testing centre on it, but at Christmas time has the wonderful big wheel on there. And of course, during the summer, is a place for people to sit out, to enjoy, and to appreciate the buildings around it. And as I said, pulling things down has been one of the features of the last 10 years. And there at the back, behind the Corn Exchange, you will see the appalling fish market, meat and fish market, which it always smelt of fish, and there weren't fresh fish that it smelt of either. And of course, what we've created there is that a dramatic transformation, renamed by as the Green Dragon Square after the ancient inn that once stood there, and the name officially given by His Royal Highness Prince Charles, and now I think in an appropriate extra space at the heart of Leicester. And you will have seen on my opening slide that I talked about a city connected, and connecting Leicester has been one of the themes that has run through a lot of the things that we've done, and a further connection is to be made there. And you will see the shops that face onto there, some of them unused. The two middle ones there are due to come down over the next 18 months, with a new link built through to Kank Street behind there to extend that quality space and to extend the circulation of those who come to work in Leicester, to visit Leicester, and increasingly to live in Leicester. And I'll mention that one again in a few moments as well. Of course, improving work for the routes for cyclists has been something that has been quite a feature of the work that's been done. We've been very, very fortunate in winning support from first of all European funding and then from central government funding, and of course now have got with sponsorship from Santander the new electric bikes, 500 of them, beginning to be used in the city, and a wide range of temporary cycleways, some of which will be made permanent over the months ahead as a result of government funding that we were able to achieve during the COVID period. But it is the case that the coronavirus pandemic has affected all our lives over the last 12 months. And I said, we've endured restrictions for longer than any other city. But of course, we have, I think now, begun to move towards the end of that, and with the very successful rollout of vaccination, and being able, as a city, to take a lead in pioneering local track and trace, a pilot scheme that we've adopted in the city that's now been replicated elsewhere. But of course, it's also meant that many of our services have had to be repurposed over the last 12 months, with the creation of food hubs, with over 20,000 food parcels being sent out over the last 12 months, and a wide range of food banks being supported as well. But of course, for much of the last 2 months, our city centre may have looked good, but there haven't been all that many people there. And of course, it has been important for us to support businesses with over £100 million of business grants during the pandemic, and to plan for the future with an economic recovery plan that's securing resources to undertake a robust programme of jobs and skills, and bringing significant investment into the city to bring it back to life and to ensure that it returns very quickly to full vitality. Of course, as I've said earlier, I tend when doing these sorts of presentations to focus very much on the city centre itself. But one of the big challenges to us has been the area immediately beyond the city centre. And one of the areas that was most neglected and frustratingly just beyond the area of the city centre was the area of the waterside, the area to the north of Westbridge, where I've set about seeking to bring about the same sort of regeneration that the City Challenge project brought to the area to the south of Westbridge some 25 years ago. And again, it's been something that has involved us as a local authority in working very closely in partnership with others, particularly in close partnership with Charles Street Buildings, who of course are a Leicester founded company, and had significant assets in the city, but undertook much of their work elsewhere. And breaking through the concrete collar that the inner ring road was, has been something that didn't seem possible those 10 years ago, and now has been dramatically transformed. That, of course, is the former Great Central Station, wonderfully restored, and now in use as a leisure venue, and hopefully you'll get a chance to visit it when the full restrictions are lifted. But also, and this is very significant for Leicester, as part of this development and elsewhere across the city, we are seeing much new hotel development. And that again is something that 10 years ago just seemed very implausible. That anybody would want to build hotels to cater for visitors, whether coming for work or for leisure to the city, but they are, and they're building in significant numbers. And this one in the area across the other side of the ring road from the city centre is 250 bed space, Novotel and Adagio facilities. But of course, that's just in addition to what is being done by Leicester Tigers on the Granby Hall site, what Travelodge are doing at the Haymarket. All of these under construction, and all of these, I think, very much a sign of increased confidence in in the future of the city, and the fact that visitors will want to come to visit us. This is, I hope, another video, because of course that is what the waterside area did look like, and I hope, if I can, yes, there we are. This is a measure of the transformation that's taking place. Demolition started in mid-2018. The whole site's now cleared, including the cement batches that were on there. The first office building commenced in March 2020 and completed in February of this year. U Energy is currently doing the interior fit out and expecting to operate it during the summer. And the first phase of the homes that are on the site started late last year, and first ones will complete about July this year. The developers Keep Moat are on site with a lovely new sales office and are taking orders. It's going to be a wonderful new place to live, right close into the city centre, right next to the river, and I think opening up a whole new perspective of Leicester, which of course we paved the way for by acquiring Friars Mill. 25,000 square foot managed workspace. The Chamber of Commerce managed it for us. 6.5 million scheme, and we bought it. And when I first bought it, there was a suggestion that I actually sort of, it was a risk, a far too great a risk. Well, it was a risk that was possible for me as mayor to take, and it really has paid off, because it's provided a catalyst to the other investment in that area, and saved what is probably the oldest manufacturing building in the city. Just a few slides here, really, of what is being developed on Waterside. A range of different types of residential units. I think a total of just under 300 are going to be there. It really is going to be a very attractive space, but alongside of it, we've got Watkin Jones that are already got part of their site redeveloped, and of course we're now looking across the river to Repton Street, where there's potential for a further 200 residential units in the future. Just briefly to take a trip away from the city centre, and just to say that, of course, it isn't just in the centre of the city that we're promoting development. This is out at Ashton Green, out towards Thurkeston, where the first 100 homes, including 30 affordable units, have been built, and almost all are occupied, and it's a very thriving development there. Again, we've been very fortunate to get a very significant amount of a grant towards the highway infrastructure that was necessary, and that has undoubtedly been one of the successes in unlocking this development that when I came in as mayor 10 years ago had been sitting there as an offer for development for quite some years. Well, now it's actually happening. And I'm delighted to go out and look there. We've got planning negotiations underway with another developer for a mixed-use village centre right next to this, of 400 homes with schools, health centre, and community facilities. At the last count, I think there was some 120 million of private sector investment secured. But as I said earlier on, a lot of what's been achieved has been in partnership. Of course, there with the private sector. I talked earlier on about the cathedral, but here it's a partnership with the university, because Leicester is one of the leading universities when it comes to space science and physics, and of course the development with them of pioneer park here, that actually, unfortunately, is just an artist's impression, because in fact the reality is looking pretty much like that now, and it really has been delivered by them, with I think some £100 million of investment to make Leicester the epicentre of the UK's space industry, and it's very exciting indeed, and it's very useful to work with both the universities that we have in the city, and indeed with Loughborough University, just some 25 minutes down the road, all of whom are a very important part of the economy of the city, but also bringing students and graduates to the city in a way that is, I think, enormously enriching the city. Immediately adjacent to that, of course, we are ourselves investing in providing workspace, and this is the dock workspace, which again I used the artist's impression, but in fact the reality of what's being created there is up to the standards of that artist's impression. Now, to come back to, I'm coming towards the conclusion really. I'm hoping we'll have time to take some questions, but coming back to the city centre, there's been a lot of concern expressed at some of the changes that are taking place in Leicester. Some things have closed, but what those closures do are to give us new opportunities. And one of the most regrettable departures from the city was Phoenix. But of course, what Phoenix has enabled is the reuse of their building into new workspace, some 10,000 square foot that the council is developing at the floor of a building that will have a 110 room apart hotel above it, supporting over 150 new jobs. And of course, that's Anchor at that end of Market Street and Beaver Street will, I think, bring about a dramatic transformation in what has undoubtedly been quite a sad appearance on Market Street over the last 2 or 3 years, particularly since obviously the change that occurred with the numbers of people in that area as a result of the council moving a little bit further down the down Beaver Street to the old municipal offices, now our City Hall. Just a few final slides of some of the exciting things happening in Leicester over the next few years. This is the artist's impression of the pilot house scheme that the council again is looking to use with partners to bring new workspace into that area. It's particularly timely, of course, because that and the Gresham building, the former Phoenix building, are the sort of flexible use of space in the city centre that is very much likely to be much more in demand as patterns of work may change in the post-COVID era. The other one that I'm going to move on to now is, of course, something that was just impossible to achieve when, in those times, some 30 odd years ago now, we first were developing the Shires shopping centre in Leicester, because what we sought to do then was to bring some residential into it. Well, of course, with the demise of Debenhams and the change of high street retail, that is precisely what the Hammersons, the owners of of what is now the High Cross, are seeking to do, and that is their visual of what they seek to create on the site of the Debenhams store: new residential units, which will bring, if it's built to that full size, and it may well be this, you know, some need to reduce the size somewhat, but they're looking to bring some 338 privately rented flats onto that site, very high quality, and obviously very important to the future of the city centre as the balance of use in the city centre changes in a post-COVID era, and it is undoubtedly something that, as I say, we could only dream of 30 years ago. and is now a very important mix, as people do want to live in the city centre now, which I think is very much a reflection of the fact that the perception of the city centre has changed over recent years, as the public space in the city centre and the balance of uses in the city centre has changed. I say a couple more slides only now. Important scheme that I just wanted to give a flavour of is amongst our the reminders that we have of Leicester's 2,000 years of development and history is, of course, the largest piece of non-military Roman masonry anywhere in the UK in the Jury Wall. And interpreting that is something that gives us enormous opportunities to add to the experience of those who will in future visit Leicester, and indeed Leicester and Leicestershire people in understanding their own history. And Jury Wall is undoubtedly going to be a major part of the offer to visitors and residents alike in the years to come. And that scheme is now well in progress. There's already work on site to do the first phase, and hopefully that will be open in about two and a half years' time. So finally, just a couple of slides of things that are transport related. One, that the St Margaret's bus station is being dramatically transformed into the UK's first carbon neutral bus station. And this is perhaps just an opportunity to say that, you know, in all of the changes that are taking place, we are aware of the challenges of climate change and what it means to be responding to a climate emergency. And that as the UK's first carbon neutral station and bus station, and as a venue for public transport, as a base for public transport, is an important part of what we're doing. And to go to the next one, the preparation of the local transport plan and the possibility, and you may wish to ask me about this in questions that we'll come to in a minute, of us introducing a workplace parking levy of the same sort as they have in Nottingham, does give us the opportunity to deliver high quality sustainable transport, not only serving the city, but obviously here, you know, serving our connections with the rest of the nation. But the introduction of a workplace parking levy, which again is perhaps something that as a council leader I would never have dared to contemplate, is something that while of course there are downsides to those who have to pay, there are enormous advantages in that they provide a revenue stream that will enable the support for public transport of the sort of quality that we need here in Leicester, if we're to match what is appropriate for us as a version of electric propelled vehicles, which in Nottingham's case, of course, have been used to support a tram, but for us, the greater flexibility and more affordability of electric buses is what we're doing. And although I haven't included a slide here, the first of 11 such electric buses are due to start work in the next few weeks, serving the park and ride schemes in Leicester. Now I'm going to pause there. I'm going to stop there and invite questions on any of the things that I've displayed, or indeed on any other aspects of your interest in the city. I don't know quite how you want to take our questions, but Parmdeep, it's over to you, and I'll be prepared to do my very best to answer them, and as is the job of mayor, if necessary, take the blame.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed that. Excellent. Okay, I believe we have a raised hand from Rodney and Pam. I'll take a question. We'll start with that.
Thank you, Sir Peter, and I've been a great supporter of the things you've been doing to make Leicester more beautiful. And I think you were saying that the pop-up cycleway in which has made such a blight on London Road through Stonygate, is going to be removed soon. But I know you in the past, you've supported the gem of the theatre in Leicester, the Little Theatre. But I know that with the planned closure of Dover Street, the trustees are very concerned about the drop-off of visitors and particularly disabled visitors there.
Yes, if I can sort of deal with those two issues. Certainly the use of the bus lane on London Road needs to return to being a bus lane. And that makes good sense. But we have been looking at ways in which we can get cycles through by using other space, and if we can, I think that's far to be preferred from taking that particular bus lane out, which is, I think, a vital part of getting the buses through. With regard to Dover Street, what we have at the moment is consultation, and it genuinely is consultation about changes there. And I think that a meeting is to be arranged to talk with the Little Theatre. I agree with you entirely about the importance of the Little Theatre in general, and about the importance of people being able to drop off there effectively. And it may be that the scheme can be modified in such a way that that is still made possible. I'm able to say that because my late mum was there for every performance, well, not every performance, but for every show, and I regularly had to drop her off before and pick her up afterwards, and always did that by going down Dover Street.
Thank you.
Okay, John Knight.
Thank you, Parmdeep. Yes, so Peter, we've just met once. I'm Chief Executive of Loris, and just wanted to partly thank you, and then a sort of blatant advertising of the Rocket Round Leicester art trail that we're doing from July onwards. And for us, that's a really exciting opportunity, not just to raise funds for Loris, but to help, if you like, bring footfall back to the city centre. So for Rotarian colleagues, that's 46-foot uniquely decorated rockets, obviously on the space theme, common with Leicester, around the city centre, where people, tourists, local residents will come and be able to follow the trail, and then a massive auction of the rockets at the end. But it's been really supported by the city and helped to promote, and I think it's a great thing for us, it's a great thing for the city, and actually I think it's the biggest art trail that Leicester may have ever had. So just a shameless promotion, but a quick thank you as well.
John, I'm delighted you've taken the opportunity to do that, because I've actually had a sneak preview of the rockets, and they are going to be brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to them. You may be right. Maybe we've never done anything on that scale before. It's going to be great fun. I hope you will support it, and I wish them and indeed Loros the very best with it.
Okay, we'll have Bernard Greaves and then David Brunton.
Sir Peter, I'm delighted to see the increase in the residential population of the city centre, but the danger is that becomes a population simply of young single people or elderly retired people, unless alongside it goes the development of schools and health facilities. So is that something that you're seeking to promote?
Yes, it's interesting you should ask the question, Bernard, because it was at the time when we were first building the Shires, it was the late Bob Pritchard, who I think you may recall.
Indeed, yes.
And it was Bob particularly, as from the Lib Dem benches on the council, who was particularly advocating the inclusion of residential in the city centre. And Bob was right, entirely right, and it just couldn't be achieved at the time. But I think you're now right, in raising the need for it to be a balanced community, and for that community to have the necessary facilities. And we have now got a sixth form back in the city centre, but we also, I think, need to have ready access to other other educational facilities, and indeed, as you say, to health as well. And certainly, we've been looking at how, if we do have, as I hope we will have, a wide range of age, a wide age profile of those living in the waterside, how the children there are appropriately educated. And, fortunately, because they're, as it were, between the city centre and other areas, there are possibilities there that don't necessarily involve us in trying to squeeze schools back in. But I do look forward to having families and children living in and around the city centre.
Thank you.
David Brent.
Thank you, Peter. That's very interesting to see what's gone on over the last 10 years and very impressive number of schemes that you've brought to fruition there. With my Space Centre Director hat on, I would say thank you for the work you're doing in connecting the Space Park and the Space Centre and the pumping station with the public realm work, which has been very much appreciated. And you may remember sort of 20 odd years ago when we built the Space Centre, we thought it would be a catalyst for a space park and a dock and starter units. 20 years has been a long time, but now that's all come together. It's starting to form a real centre for space down there, so I'm pleased with that. But can I just take you outside the city at the moment and to Bradgate Park, where that to celebrate our centenary, we raised about 160,000 to fund the visitor centre. And to say we've been upset to hear that there's talk of changing that from being open every day of the year using volunteer staff. There's an intention to open just at weekends and busy times. And as I say, the club is quite disappointed with that, given that when we did raise the money and have our discussions back in 2016, the intention was to open as much as possible. And if you could maybe update us on that. Thank you.
Yes, I will. Although I have to say I will undertake to to look closely at what is being suggested. I wasn't aware that there was any concern about the changes that are taking place. I will find out more about what those changes are, and be happy to perhaps have a further discussion with you. When I've done that. Your mention of the Space Centre is quite interesting, because that too links back to the late Bob Pritchard, because I remember Bob, while having been right about the residential in the city centre, was intensely sceptical about whether a space centre could ever bring visitors to Leicester. And Bob was obviously very much associated with the university at the time, and but he was nonetheless a sceptic. And I say, having been entirely right about the housing in the city centre, he was entirely wrong about the space centre, because of course it's been an enormous success. And after the original business plans for it were very, very modest in the number of visitors that could be attracted, it has outperformed that many times over. And that is very, very much down to the very skilled management and the commitment of those who are like yourself, directors of it. It really has been an enormous success. And of course, space and Leicester and Leicester University is increasingly, I think, something that people are recognising are closely associated. But certainly at that time, nobody could believe that anybody in Leicester knew much about space, and that anybody would come to any sort of visitor experience in Leicester. Well, I'm glad to say they were entirely wrong.
Okay, I'll come back to you on the.
Yeah, do. I'll be happy to talk again. Of course I will.
Yeah. Okay. Probably a note. Thank you.
Okay, and just one final question from Michael, please. Michael Chamberlain. Please go ahead and mute yourself first, please, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Sir Peter. It's quite remarkable what's been achieved over the last 10 years.
But from your talk, I noticed there was complete absence of anything about what's happening on the east of the city. If you take the Belgrave Road, for instance, whole the way east there, and indeed from, say, Charles Street, what plans are there for those areas?
Yes. I mean, I have to say that the east of the city, I think, by these definitions, certainly includes the Belgrave Road, as you mentioned, and certainly pulling down the Belgrave flyover was a fairly dramatic change, and the connectivity that's made through Belgrave Road, Belgrave Gate through towards the east is. Is quite significant. But of course, I've tended in this presentation to focus on the city centre, but I could do probably much longer talk sometime about the various neighbourhoods in Leicester and the extent to which we've intervened in neighbourhoods, the amount of work that we're doing, perhaps much more mundane and perhaps less dramatic. To support those neighbourhoods and of course to support the housing, where of course across the city, north, south, east and west, is where people live even more than the increasing numbers that are living in the city centre. I think that's perhaps a talk for another day.
Okay, thank you. We'll try and squeeze one more in if that's okay, Sir Peter.
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you. That's going to go to Pam Spokes.
I was just wondering if there are any plans for a park and ride on this side of the city. And when I say this side, we live in Thurnby. I regularly have to travel into Leicester City Centre for voluntary work, and a park and ride on this side would be of great benefit.
We have looked at a number of additional park and ride sites. They're not easy to find, and even the ones we've got are not ideally located. But the big difficulty we have, and it's done jointly with the County Council, is that park and ride requires very significant revenue support. And of course, sort of touched on it as went through. It's been very, very challenging for both ourselves and the county. We as a city council have lost £150 million per year spending power over the last 10 years. And to say the impact of that has been to make it very, very difficult for us to take on additional commitments such as park and ride. But it's why, although it is controversial, it is why I'm so supportive of a workplace parking levy, because it is a source of revenue that can only be used and would only be used for transport purposes. And were we to be able to introduce workplace parking levy, I'm confident we could use resources from that to provide the revenue support for park and ride on perhaps a number of different sites. Because a workplace parking levy can produce several £1 million of income per year, and park and ride requires some hundreds of thousands of pounds per year. It is well affordable if you have something from which to afford it. And as I say, while it may be very controversial, I do believe that it can provide the reality of choice and mean that people can actually use quality public transport rather than having to rely on a private car.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Peter. I'm just going to ask members to unmute themselves, and just so I'll also pass on to Rotarian Diana Osho to give vote of thanks.
Hello, Sir Peter. Thank you so much for updating us. I came to Leicester about 27-ish years ago as a student at BMU. We set up our business here, and over these years we've seen a huge amount of change, and that's just in the time scale that I've been here, let alone the Rotarians that have lived here from birth, basically. I hope that with all these amazing connections that you've got with private developers, that there is that assurance that they do ensure that they do have enough green space for people, and obviously adequate social housing, which is incredibly important. What I'd like to say now is, on behalf, if I could ask all of the Rotarians to thank you in our usual way.
Thank you, and you're more than welcome to come back and update us later in the year. We'd love to see how your plans come together. Very exciting.
Nice. Delighted. Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you, Diane.
Okay, I've just noticed we have a guest from Sierra Leone. Is that correct? Melfina. I'd just like to say hello.
Yes, that's correct. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians, Rotarian President and fellow Rotarians and guests. My name is Melfina Biokubet. I'm the President-elect of the Rotary Club of Freetown Sunset here in Freetown, Sierra Leone. I've been invited by my sister-in-law, Muriel, and thank you for having me.
Well, you're welcome back as a guest anytime you like, and it'd be nice to hear a bit more about what's happening in Sierra Leone and your Rotary Club.
Indeed, we can plan that for another day.
Sure, yeah, please get in touch. Okay, wonderful. It's also good to see Tara, managed to get back from India in 1 week.
Yeah.
I heard it was quite a journey. You had quite a journey getting back from India. Well, I did speak to Tara last week, and she did say that
muted.
Things over there were very, very difficult. So yeah, maybe she can update us next week. Okay, so attendance is 25 today, and next week we have Bill Barber, trustee of Care for Wild UK, talking to us about his care for the wild rhino sanctuary, which will be very interesting, I'm sure. Richard Power, who normally updates us on the situation in the Leicester Hospital with regards to the situation in relation to COVID. He's not around today, so look out for that for next week. There are no meetings after lunch. This meeting stands adjourned. Thank you very much, and see you all next week. Stay safe, stay well.
Thank you. Bye.
Melfina,
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks for coming, Melfina.
Thanks for inviting me, Muriel.
Okay, take care.